She's the only one who can teach it. 'Cause of Peach English. Well, she's the only one who can teach it.
Hello, this is PeachCAST and I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ian. So if you're speaking or listening in another language, you want to turn on the captions. It's in your top right-hand corner on your phone or in the bottom right on your computer. So make sure to do that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about work culture, like work culture difference between US and Korea. So yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah. First off, I've never worked at like an actual like office job in Korea. You worked at Samsung for a while after you graduated Yonsei. How did you feel about that? How was it overall? Just
Okay,
curious.
I was really happy and my parents were really happy when I got to Samsung because it's one of the most difficult companies in Korea to get in. So I was so happy to get that great job. And I was expecting and looking forward to doing like big things like marketings and like selling Galaxy, like something like that. But I was like just like lower employee because like that had Samsung is a very, very big group.
Right.
So even though I studied a lot and I graduated from a good school, all I needed to do was like a very small things, not like my expectation. You need to be there at least for 20 years or 30 years to do those big things that you expected for. So I needed to start from copying or making reports or like making papers pretty.
Did you start as an intern?
No. I didn't have any internship there. So I was very lucky to get in there because many of my coworkers who got into Samsung at the time, they already had internship experiences as well. But I just didn't. I just prepared for this Samsung entrance test and then interviewing.
There's an entrance test.
Yes.
What's the entrance test?
Entrance test is like
I've never heard of that before.
it's basically a test to test you that you have a common sense or like logical thinking.
It's like an IQ test?
It's similar.
Sounds like an IQ test.
It's similar to that.
Huh.
It's similar to that. Yes.
Interesting.
Like it has some math problems. It has some Chinese character problems. Like many like test questions to test you that you have like this common sense and good ability to work for Samsung. So yes, I had to prepare for that exam as well, and then prepared interview.
Yeah, the interview culture is actually really different between US and Korea, I've noticed as well.
Oh, really? Oh, how is it so?
Like in Korea, you like, from what I've seen on like TV shows and stuff, you like sit in a room. There's people lined up in like chairs outside, and they go in at like groups of 3. Is that correct? Or
It depends
in the past at least.
Well, nowadays there are a lot of companies who would do that still, but back then, yes, it was normal.
Yeah, interesting. Because I saw that and I'm like, wow, that'd be like way more terrifying, I feel like, to do it like that. Because you're basically like competing directly with the person next to you. So it's very like, I could see like you get a lot of stress from that.
Yes.
Because in the US, it's usually like you just do like a one-on-one. So like there's multiple rounds, right? But all of them are one-on-one. So you do one-on-one and then you kind of keep going. And then if you pass, you keep doing one-on-ones. And then that's basically how it goes. Yeah, it's usually like all online. So.
Okay. I've done a lot of interviews so far, mostly Korean interviews. And yes, I had one-on-one interview experience and I had like this 5 people and 5 interviewees and interviewers and like 3 interviewees and 5 interviewers, like very competitive environment.
That's crazy. 5 people.
Yes.
So
yes,
they're all
yeah.
asking you questions, the 5 people.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they compare directly like which one answers the best. So it's very pressuring.
Yeah, for sure. Because in the US, it's always one-on-one. It's always like you talk to the person who's going to be your boss, they say, oh, okay, cool. Let's meet one more time next week. And then you kind of just continue on that route. It's always one-on-one.
Wow.
And then usually online too, not even in person. So
Oh, okay. But when I entered Samsung, I only did one-on-one. Well, not one-on-one, like 1 to 5 interviewers, like 1 to like 6 interviewers. Like I was the only one who was interviewed, but there were multiple interviewers who, like tested me.
Right, asking
so
questions and
yes,
stuff.
yeah, it was
Interesting.
very like
it sounds intense.
yeah, intense. It was intense. I had an interview for whole day, and they did this presentation interview, and they did like some like deep interview to see my characteristics and like my character would be matched with Samsung, So they asked me a lot of questions for a whole day.
And who are the people interviewing you? Like your boss, or are they like just random people in the?
Like what I know is that for the PT interview, like there were managers, but probably I wouldn't work with them. They were manager levels, so they know the most of this real working environment. And for the characteristic interview, like there were this directors. There were these directors and who worked for Samsung at least for 20 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they weren't directly your boss. Interesting. Because in the US, usually it's your boss directly interviewing you. Because usually the boss is looking for either like a new person to hire, like to add to their team, right?
Oh, right.
So they're like, oh, okay, this person seems like they'll be a good fit for my team. So they always interview the person who's like on their team, which is kind of interesting because I feel like that would be, because like the whole point of like the work environment is you're like working on a project together, right? So it would be like, it's ideal to try and find someone who's like on your team. So it's interesting how that is different.
I think like Korean culture, Korean working, hiring culture is changing to that direction.
Oh, it is?
Yes. So if you are looking for some experienced worker, then that would be the only solution for hiring someone. But for me, it was like kind of mass employment system at the time. They were hiring this like hundreds of people for that year. So they needed to like make us take some tests, and they needed to do this mass interview to find out like who's right and who's not right for them, so that's very special process. But if they are looking for a manager, let's say, then they are looking for this experienced worker, so they like his or her boss would find them. Yeah. So
I see. Interesting. That's interesting. Because when I did my interview, and I was just doing like an internship, because usually, I don't know if it's in Korea, maybe it's similar these days. In in the US, you usually like you do an internship in college for like a summer or like sometimes part-time. And then if they like you after you graduate, they're like, hey, you can work for a company, they'll offer you a job.
right.
Is that how it in Korea? Kind
Yes, that's how internship works. But there are some internship programs which is only for internship. So they do it because they want to leave that internship experience in their resume. So not only for that specific company, but still there are many cases that somebody does internship, and then if that company likes that person, then he or she can be hired from that company. So
Interesting. So you did the interview, and then you came into the office, and then I'm sure you were like pretty nervous, but then you just kind of like, you said earlier, like your work tasks were just basically like making copies and like doing reports. I'm sure that was a bit like disheartening in a way.
yes, frustrating.
Right.
Yes. Like which I see now, now I understand like all of the process, because that's a big pyramid group,
Yes.
So it's basically like an army, So if you just disregard those systems, then you can't work. Now I see that. But at the time, like 10 years ago, I was like newly college graduate, and then like I was so ambitious, and I just couldn't accept the reality that I needed to make copies. Like, even though I just graduated from one of these top universities, because I was thinking like, I studied so hard, but why am I making copies? Like, why am I making coffee? I just didn't get it at the time.
Yeah.
In a way, it doesn't make any sense at all nowadays as well. But at the time, it was too big, too much to handle for me. So yeah, it was a bit disheartening and frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. Because you put in all this work, and then it's like, wow, I have to climb this giant pyramid for the next, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a
right.
bit like intense for sure.
And I was scolded by my boss at the time for the small, tiny things. I mean, if I was scolded by some things that I could understand and I could see why I was scolded, then, that's fine because I did something wrong.
Right.
But I just didn't do something wrong, but I was scolded for no reason. And that was so frustrating.
Yeah, it's because he was scolded when he was probably younger. It's probably what it was. And he was taking it out on
I think so.
someone else. That's usually how it goes,
And
I
I
feel like.
think he wanted to have the subordinate who obeys him or who follows whatever he talks, But I just didn't follow him, if that doesn't make sense. So probably he didn't like it.
Yeah, you're like, why am I listening to some random person who like I don't even like talk to like about that much? So I can for sure like,
Yeah.
because usually like when you listen to someone or you take feedback or like you follow instruction, it comes from like a value of like respect towards that person. And you're just probably like just met this person, so I'm sure that was kind of a weird dynamic for sure.
Yeah, right. And there was this culture that you needed to do whatever your boss ordered you to do.
Like an order of tasks.
Yes, order of tasks.
So like he'd be like, I want coffee, and then a report, and then I want you to like upload some document. You have to do it like in that order. Is that what you mean?
No, like let's say it was more tiny things than that. Like you need to space like 2 spaces, like for every sentence, something like that. But you space like three spaces, like like
on a
something like
report.
that. Yes.
Huh.
So it's like, I mean,
Huh.
I know that that's like their way of doing or making reports. Now I get that, but at the time I was like, why? Why should I focus like on the small things, and then like why should I be scolded for that? I just didn't get it. Like there are so much more important things out there, but why should I focus on like how many spaces should I put, or how like which color should I use to highlight the sentence? Like I just didn't get it at the time. So yeah.
Yeah. Another interesting question for you. Because in Korea, a lot of people smoke, and because I was in Seoul last year, and my Airbnb was right next to the Samsung office building, and at like 10:30 a.m. there's just like 50 dudes outside all smoking, and I was like, I feel like that'd be like, because it's like, when it comes to like talking and that sort of thing, you're kind of missing out on a lot of like maybe important conversations or like just power dynamics in general. I feel like that, like, what was your experience with that sort of thing? Because I know that's a huge culture here with smoking.
Yeah, I think that contains a bit of brutal truth, like of this power dynamics. So let's say, if there is a group that contains like much more guys than women, then there are some groups like who smoke together, or there are some groups who do like 회식, which means like company meetings after work. But girls or women don't like those activities like in general,
Right.
right? So we don't intend to be isolated, but there are some situations and environments that we are isolated. And like you said, we're missing some like important information or important chances because like there are some chances or information only people know, not on the web or not anywhere, like only mouse to mouse.
Right.
So yes, I know that Korean working culture is changing in a positive way, but still like there are this like I guess hidden power dynamics between this people group who do certain like activities together.
Right.
So, but you know, like I couldn't smoke because of that, but or I can't like drink until midnight because of that.
How
So-
often was your like company like meetings, like your company gatherings out after work?
It's like once every 3 weeks, I guess.
Oh, that's
Once
less than
every-
I thought actually.
Like yeah, I mean once every like 3 weeks is a kind of like official company gathering. But if like your boss feels like, oh, I want to have dinner tonight with you guys, then you know that's 회식. So it's like unregular 회식 or unregular company gatherings like happen a lot. So nowadays, especially after COVID, like there is much less this company gathering culture, but still like there are a lot. But before COVID, and even like I was working 10 years ago for Samsung, so back then there was so much more 회식 culture at the time. So yes.
So like how often would you, or like how often would the opportunity of like let's do 회식, let's have like a company meet gathering after work, would that come up, do you
Regular,
think?
unregular. Guess once a week.
Once a week, like on a
once a week.
Friday or Thursday?
Thursday, Wednesday, I guess. Yeah.
On a Wednesday. That's a crazy day to do that. Interesting. Yeah.
Yes. Not usually on Fridays, but usually Wednesdays or Thursdays. What I remember is that
How long were you at Samsung?
a year and a half.
Okay, that's not too bad.
A year and a half.
You were like, I got to get out of here. Was that what happened?
Yes. yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, I'm thinking like probably it'd be better if I stayed because at the time I was immature, in many ways. But I didn't know how many painful experiences or sufferings I would get after quitting that job, because I was kind of naive, you know. I was thinking, oh, I can do everything, you know, even though I'm out of Samsung, I'll still make good money, I can do everything. I think I was too ignorant, or I don't know, I was too much confident, or mix of everything. But anyways, I've gone through a lot after quitting Samsung, and I realized that there's no safety zone for me after quitting this good company. You know, I needed to survive in this jungle, and Samsung was kind of protection for me, you know. But I didn't see that at the time. But anyways, now I'm content that I got out of there. But you know, if I knew that I would gone through this many hard times, then probably I would have stayed there. So yeah.
Yeah. The office job does, I know, that's why I have mixed feelings about office jobs too, because it provides that like stable income, you know, a job you can rely on, you know, a place you can always like, you know, okay, if I continue to go here, basically everything will be fine. But at the same time, you're also feeling like you're kind of like, for example, let's say you have like a tree, right? You're the tree, right? It feels like you're getting like less nutrients if you're at those like office jobs. So you're not going to grow, like the chance to grow as big isn't as possible is if you were doing something outside of the office job.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
I know. So
It's kind of a weird metaphor, but
I get what you're trying to say because I've been there, right? And the thing is, when I was in Samsung, I was only looking at that part. But the brutal truth is that there's a chance that you grow big, but there's a chance that you die. You know? But you didn't see the chance of you dying back then. But you know, after getting out of there, like I realized like so hard that okay, there's a chance that I die. You know, like there's a chance that I grow big. So yeah, so it's all yours after that.
right, it's all on you.
Yes, it's all on you. So yes, so so one day after I quit Samsung, probably after 5 or 7 years after, I was like still struggling with my careers and stuff and my business and stuff. My mom and I were talking about my dream car. My dream car back then was like Benz, one of Benz classes, and it has this like girl wing door, and it has like very fancy wing doors, and it's probably like 200 million won. And we were talking like if I stayed Samsung, I'd have driven that car, but
Was everyone in Samsung driving that kind of car?
No. But I got that job pretty early, like right after college graduation. So I was like 24 at the time. So, you know, being the age of 24, I was making good money. And then if I stayed there, you know, probably it was like 10 years of me working there, then I would be manager.
Right.
Then my income would be quite good. And then I can drive, you know, like that Benz dream
Right.
car that I dreamed of. I was like struggling with my business back then. And my car in reality was Casper, which I love, but still like it's a lot different from Benz.
Is the Benz
wing
still
door.
the dream car?
No, my dream car has changed.
Oh, is it the one out in the parking lot? No. No?
No. I mean, yeah. Anyways.
That one has its, its quirks, I guess.
Yeah. So we were just joking about my career choice. Yeah. So yeah.
I know it's not easy to make those big decisions for sure, but it's a big, it's basically left or right pretty much. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
So, for sure.
So you have some experiences as some working for American companies. So what was it like, and what do you think is difference between America?
I went through like the internship path. So I applied for a job in university and I did the interview and, we think you're a good fit, So I started a summer internship in my junior year and they said they really liked me. And so I started doing part-time, because this was kind of just after COVID. So I was in the office over the summer, but while I was at school, I was doing basically at home part-time work for the company, which was kind of nice because I was getting paid pretty well for not that many hours outside of studying. So that was cool. I was in Seattle, which is a very progressive city. So my office was very completely different from traditional office vibe.
Oh, okay.
There's ping pong tables. It was kind of techie vibe.
Okay.
Right? So everyone's showing up in sweatpants and sweatshirt and and my first day I showed up with dress shoes and dress shirt. I'm I'm ready to go, right?
Okay.
And they're everyone's kind of he's wearing the he's wearing the super nice well, everyone's I mean, some people would dress somewhat nicer, but then there'd always be a couple people that would wear the very casual outfit. So when I first started, I was a little bit a noob because I'd never done it before, but it was it was a progressive company. You didn't feel like you were pressured to always follow the path of make the coffee, do this. I was doing like pretty serious work from the get. I was also in engineering too. So it's not like, you know, a like traditional like company. It was like very like high technical engineering work. But I had some pretty good experiences, but again, it felt like I was kind of similar to you. I always felt like I could do more. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, it was my senior year. It was like 2 months before graduation, and I was talking to my mom. I was talking to my mom, and she was like, "Oh, do you think they're going to offer you a job?" And she was like, she really wanted me to get this job.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, I think so. You know, I have a good relationship with my boss, and it's pretty good. I do good work. Everyone says I do a good job. And so, but I'm like, but at the same time, Mom, I'm kind of like, I don't think this is for me, is what I said. And she's like, okay. And then, you know, and I'm like, I think I might go to Korea.
It's quite extreme, right?
Yeah.
Extreme.
But so regarding office work, it was pretty relaxed, actually, as far as office jobs go, compared to like from your story. It was very like, my boss was actually never even in the office, maybe once a week, because after COVID, everyone was working at home, right?
Okay.
So I was actually, there was one Friday, because I was thinking when I was doing the internship, it'd be good for experience just to go into the office. But there was one Friday, I was the only one at the office. It was pretty funny. There was
Okay.
no one there. It was just
Wow.
me. And I was just like, I was kind of like silly. I would like, you know, do silly things and like, I'd see where there weren't cameras and I'd do silly stuff like,
Okay.
like dance around or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because there was no one there. So yeah, it was a very kind of almost opposite, I think, of your experience.
Yeah.
And I was also in a very progressive city, which makes it different as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Compared to your experience, mine was more like army experience.
A little bit.
So
Yeah. So mine was very much more kind of chill and relaxed. Doing the work, so like the work environment was chill. The actual work was like stressful. My first job when I was doing the engineering company, they had me sizing pipes for a hospital. Like oxygen pipes, nitrogen pipes. So like, you know, when the patients are in the bed, they have the oxygen coming from out of the wall. I was sizing that stuff. And I was like, I'm like, you sure you want me doing this?
wow.
That's how I was thinking, right? Because it was so like, I'm like, you know, someone's life's probably depending on this, right? And I'm like, they're like, we need you to do this. It should be really easy. Just look at this chart and follow this like calculation, blah, blah, blah. No problem. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like doing it. I'm like stressing out as I'm doing it. Cause I'm like, this is like probably a super important project. I've never done this ever before. So that part was actually, I found that very stressful, but yeah, that was stressing for sure. I was stressed out doing that.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what I see now, but what I couldn't see at the time was that they made me do the small things. I think because they wanted to teach me with apprenticeship. So they wanted me do just these small things, and then they just wanted me to go from there, you know, like go upward from there. So you see, like, if you see some apprenticeships for, like, let's say making poetry? No.
Poetry?
No. Making China.
China.
China, let's say. Then, you know, you need to start from mixing the dirt.
Right.
So you have to mix the dirt for 3 years, and then your teacher teaches you like this small skill. And then if you do those skills for 2 years more, then you need to, you know.
Right.
Like, I think they wanted me to do that, I guess.
Like see how well you can follow, like, I guess like the core foundation of the company kind of thing.
I guess so. But at the time, it was so frustrating and suffocating for me because I knew that I could do more. And I wanted to do more. And I thought I had no time. I had
Right.
no time to do this for 3 years, you know.
No time to waste.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, for sure. For lunch, was there a cafeteria?
yes, there was a company cafeteria.
Oh, really?
And
That's nice.
they offer us a really, really good meal. Yes. So basically, you can choose between meal A, B, C, and all A, B, C meal plans are so good. So Samsung is famous for offering like very good meal. So if you want to,
Interesting.
yes, if you want to like try Korean food, then you can go for Korean food. If you want to try like salads or sandwich, then you can go for that. And if you want to like try Western food, then you can go for that. So for meal plan, I had no complaints about it. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Because the average company in the US, it's really just like you just bring your own food. Yeah.
Really?
Or maybe sometimes you would go out for lunch with a coworker.
Then does company offer you a money for buying the lunch, or you
No,
just
it's
pay for your? Oh,
yeah,
really?
it's all
Oh,
like, yeah.
all on you.
My mom makes a salad every morning before she goes to work. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And she has
okay.
like a really high ranked job in the company too. So it's just kind of like how it works there.
So there's no lunch gathering between coworkers.
If there is, usually you go out to eat somewhere for lunch, kind of like huishik, but for lunch. So there's no drinking. It's just like food and that sort of thing.
Then there's no company gathering for dinner.
There is, but it's kind of like the once every 3 months, and it's usually very like chill. Like when I did, it was like a company gathering, like huishik. It was literally like we got off work at 4, went to some bar, had a beer, a little laugh, and done. That was it. Not like late night, 12 a.m.
Okay.
It was very chill.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's no company gathering for your boss. No.
No, I mean your boss might say like, "Hey, we have this company meeting." It's like usually required probably within like the management rule book, right? Where you need to meet with your team outside of work once every 3 months or something. So because of that, she says something, "Hey, we have a work meeting coming up next week. I think we're going to go here. We'll go at like 4:30. Does that work for everyone?" And then we'd say like, "Yes, sounds good. Sure." And then we go, have a beer, maybe 2, and then go home. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
Very different.
what happens like we were talking about this like smoking gathering or like huishik company gathering, and if like somebody doesn't show up or somebody doesn't come for the meeting, then probably he or she could miss this opportunities or information. Like, does that happen in America too?
Yes, but I want to say probably not as much because it's usually very kind of like casual. It's very like casual. It's not super high pressure. And it's very like, if you're uncomfortable, you can leave, that sort of thing. Obviously, it's a good thing if you go, right? Because you can talk with your boss and, talk with your coworkers and build up relationships. But it probably wasn't as serious if you missed like a huishik in the US versus if you've missed like, a company gathering or meeting outside of the office in Korea, probably.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh.
So it's a very different environment.
Yeah,
but
it's
also,
very different.
again, my company was very like progressive company. It wasn't a traditional like a traditional company from like, the old TV shows. It's very like progressive. The building I was in was like a super progressive, like eco-environmental building. So it was kind of a more like newer thinking style of management.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So if you did some internship like in a traditional finance work, then probably it'd be different.
Probably a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Because my company was trying to be like this, like kind of like engineer, techie, like environmental company. So that's kind of why that was happening.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like, for example, because in Korea, I don't know if this is right. I've just seen TV shows. You sit at like a desk of 5 or 6 and then your boss is at the top. Is that true?
That's how I worked.
Okay.
That's how I worked.
Okay. Because
Yes.
in the US, it's like you have like a cubicle. So it'd be like, this is like a traditional company. You'd have like a wall here, a wall here, a wall here, and you have like your space. You couldn't see anyone. your boss would be in like a glass room, like over in the corner. That's how you'd work. That was traditional. My company was like nothing like that. It was all like open. And there was no assigned seating either.
Okay.
So like you could change your desk if you wanted to.
Every day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there was like a little bit of like management, but overall, if you were like, this seat sucks and no one was sitting in a different seat, you could change it. Yeah.
Okay. I heard that there are a lot of startup companies and like even like big companies like Samsung try to make their culture like more progressive or more chill way. So I know they're changing like a lot like yours. But when I worked, like my boss was right in front of me.
Right.
And that I was like, okay.
You're just like,
Okay,
gotta make a coffee.
yeah. Or like, what should I do next? You know,
Right.
like all the time. So I was like always under a pressure. Yes.
Kind of always being like surveyed, right? Yeah. Under surveillance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. It's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know with like traditional American office jobs, that sort of vibe doesn't really happen either because you're in your like cubicle, which doesn't sound great either though. Do you know a cubicle? It's like your office like block.
Oh.
Have you seen it in like the TV shows with like the gray?
Yeah.
And it's all kind of like a box,
yeah.
like a big box.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a cubicle.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't sound good either though.
Right.
You know,
That's really
so.
suffocating.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds suffocating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. Maybe next time we'll talk about our maybe part-time jobs or something. That would probably be good. 'cause
Yeah. I think so.
This kind of went on, but it was good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, if you have any working experience in Korea or in America or in other countries, then please leave comments and please let us know what you think about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.